carry overseas and definitely can find.
Or
all
they're
those
the
are-
hospital and
correct.
some
Yep.
Yep.
A sequestered juror, so people can come and request, those two can request that day even, and it has to be processed that night yet, so.
So you're saying that it will reduce the number of election inspectors that you need?
Correct. Which I will say we are having a harder time each year recruiting for election inspectors, which will take, you know, obviously you need people to run this location, but the need for less people will be a lot easier. So I've run absentee or central count at another municipality. The stress that it takes out of a polling location is beyond belief. I remember my chief said to me, if you ever bring it back, we will quit on the spot. Because it just takes so much, there's so much to processing those absentees. You really want to focus on them, because if you have to recreate or remake somebody's ballot and be able to justify how they voted or tell how they voted by marks on their, that's someone's vote, you know, so you really handle them in like their precious jewels. And that time and without having the interruptions at the polls and people in line and just your voters who are standing there with their ballots in their hand, like people can see their ballots. It's hard, you try to handle privacy sleeves and stuff, but when your lines are zigzagging all the way through your building, and people are standing with live ballots to run them through the machine, you know, that just becomes a bigger problem for your residents.
Another thing I would say too from that is, on a regular basis, at least hourly, we like to do a check so that we know that the numbers we gave out match the numbers that are in the machine, match the number of the ballots. And when you're doing that with the absentees, we've created Susan and I work together, we've got a pretty good system down, but it's very stressful to go through and say, okay, we've got only 10 absentees, we've got 50 voters, are there really 60 ballots? Having that out of there would be just reconciling on an hourly basis.
Yeah, it does create a heartache to
I've
reconcile.
worked elections where we did have central count in Shorewood a few years ago. So I've done them with and without, and I would say on the big elections, like the governor recall, the presidential, it would definitely make sense to have central count. The smaller elections, I don't know, my co-chief and I process them.
Yeah, we have to
It's
send
not
it through
terrible,
here.
but
Yeah.
But on a presidential election, there is a line of people that never, ever stops all day, except maybe 7:30 PM, because so many people voted absentee, but it takes many hours to process those ballots.
And it also interrupts the in-person voters who are trying to feed their ballot in, and they get behind someone who is, well, okay, only 9 more, just wait, you know.
We just have a rule that the absentee processor cannot step away to let a voter go in, because it just looks like they're standing there with ballot. So if they have 10 in their hand, they have to finish those 10. It's just bad protocol otherwise for them to step away, because then they're standing there with ballots in their hands, and it becomes troubling, so.
This goes to the board eventually, right?
Correct.
Okay, so before it gets to the board, could you just do me a favor, it's gonna be interesting, from 2000 until 2020 when we reach there, but every year, can you just tell us what the percentage of absentee voters was for each election based on the total voters?
From 2000?
From 2000 on, so then you have 10 years worth of data just for us to look back on, because I see the numbers, but I don't know how many some of the elections had more voters, so a percentage would be a better way to average it.
Do you mean 2000 or 2010?
I say
You said 10 years, that would be 20.
2010 is fine,
Okay.
yeah, sorry,
That's
thank
fine.
you. I thought it was just gonna be like so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Total
You know,
voters.
I mean, you can say you want percentage, but what you really want are absolute numbers, because that's what we have to deal with, are the absolute numbers.
And it's
But-
probably-
Or have both, I think we
That's-
have the numbers,
Sorry.
so if you just added a column.
I can do that. Yep.
On item B on the ordinance, it says, the canvassers shall at any time after the opening of the polls and before 10 PM publicly convene to count the absentee ballots. So you could, that's just to convene, so if you could go into the night if you
We could.
It's just, okay, I'm just trying why, how
Yep.
10 PM was picked as the.
You hope to be done by 10. So like if you aren't done by 10 PM, the news stations like to call you. So as a clerk, I try
Yes,
to
we
always
know.
stay out of the news.
Okay.
Yeah, and have running it before, I have seen glitches, where it can hang you up so that you are processing into the 1, 2, 3 AMs.
Okay.
We will not do that.
So
We
this,
will do everything in our power to be done by the close of polls.
on this data, will we be reported out as the central processing and then the wards?
Correct, so the county can still break it down, wards 1 through 4 had this many, wards 5 through 8 had this many, wards 9 through 12 had this many.
Okay.
One machine though, all the ballots get to go into one machine with one card, the card reads everything. We'll break it out by
So they
wards
will-
once it's done.
So even though
Yeah.
there's 4 polls,
Okay.
middles basically,
Yeah.
they will show 3.
Correct.
And you will not release that you get done at 4, or you gonna put?
We
you
will not
can-
release numbers until, and the county will not say we're final until those central count numbers are in.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
won't, there's no
Nope.
possibility
Nope.
of those getting.
Nope.
Or what if they're done first? I think that's your, not
Yeah,
Well, I
last.
just don't
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
disclose.
You're saying she's not gonna release them.
You would run the tape until
Yeah.
after.
Until
eight.
after it
You
got
don't
to the
modem
poll,
your.
because anybody can come in
polls
until 8
close.
o'clock.
Yeah, until we don't.
So we don't,
Oh, yeah.
we won't
They
get,
get live.
released to
Right.
modem to the county until the county says, I have all wards 1 through 12 from your locations, you can modem.
And then you bring
Yeah.
over, so your 4th is the last one you send over.
Correct, yeah.
And then do the poll workers, if it was a quick count, do they just stick around, so?
Yep.
The affidavits and
Yep,
say
so
we're not releasing any of these
whoever,
numbers?
whoever is the two, there will be at least 3 that have to either come back or stay and run those tapes at the end of the night.
And what about representatives from campaigns who are in,
Who are looking
who
at
are
it,
looking for numbers? So they would be.
like who are witnessing, or what are they
Yeah.
called?
Places are free.
Yes, did you have 4 people or 3 people?
They could see how many people had voted, but they're not gonna know the results until
Yeah.
the
Who
tapes
they
are run at
voted
8.
for, until
Okay.
that.
Oh, so all 4
But-
locations?
We always have observers,
Right.
and many of them wait till after
Right.
8, they sometimes
The
wait till
absentee
9:30.
ballots from 9 through 12 that are counted here, is there gonna be somebody here saying, here's the vote for this poll location, or is the person at, what do we do, at
Right.
the church,
Yep.
Who were the
gonna
observers
say,
though?
this is the vote count, including the absentees?
Well, we can, we can come up with any way that we wanna report that, so if whoever, so say somebody's waiting at the church to get
Right.
numbers,
Right.
they can say, hold on, let me call the clerk and see if they have absentees reported yet. Cause I'll have it broken down on the tape totals of what they are.
I mean, by poll,
So we,
at 8 o'clock.
So each polling location, once it closes,
Correct.
well, the observers can have, like, would reach out to you and you could give them the absentee polling information.
Correct.
Or does
Or
someone,
do you get from the
but will you have observers also here?
We do. I mean, Diane and I will sit and have
They
people
sit
here
and they wait until the
we
numbers
have
are
the
ready.
final numbers from the county.
No,
those
I'm
are
just
the-
meaning for your 4th, if it's the central absentee poll.
They
They
could
could,
be here.
yeah, they can be here.
So
You can have observers just like you do at
At other
People
other.
sometimes
yeah.
walk in just to see what's the number on the machine and walk
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
a couple times a day,
Yeah.
just to see what.
you declare this is a polling place
Yep.
essentially, you
Yep.
declare it's closed, you run the tape, they can be there watching you run the tape.
Yep,
You
All
declare
publicly-
the results.
Yep.
And close the central poll.
Yep.
That, we were talking about declaring the results here or declaring the
So I
results
think
at
you
the
got
three.
it. Don't you have to,
right.
here, I close the poll
Well,
and
they do at each location.
you're a location
Yeah,
too.
so we would do the same thing here, so people can either, like I said, they can go, if they're at the church and they want what the church's results are, the church can give those results.
Mhm,
Then they can say, this does not include absentees,
right,
would you like me to phone the clerk? I can get those numbers.
okay.
Then they can call me, or they can come, if they wanna just
Or
come
you
to
have your
see the
representative
report.
here.
Right.
Yeah.
You can have-
Send a representative here, the doors will be open just like they would, we keep them open just because we know there's observers, so
Right.
people wait for the numbers.
Okay,
I think-
fine, yep.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
great.
yeah, yep. So, yeah.
So it's a budget impact, right, but not really.
Um,
Yeah,
You're gonna have-
yeah, it'll be a small,
I have a
it'll
couple
be a
other
decrease,
things to
yeah.
discuss.
hopefully it'll wash out in the end of the machine.
So,
Yes.
can I ask one more question for in budget?
Yep.
When we get to budget, will this be shown as a decrease in expenditure? Or will it be shown for next year, or will it be shown as an
It's-
increase?
The machine will be a request for capital. Because
The
it's
less poll workers.
the less poll workers, so, Mark and
So
I will
we'll
work
work on
on
it.
that piece, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, we will, Justin.
Yep,
I was gonna hear that when we get to budget.
so- We will move forward with, the meeting room policy, so is that you?
Yeah, Rachel Collins from the library is here too. Really short and sweet,
Yep.
we're already doing this, we're just putting it into a policy, just stating that the library helps manage the meeting room space in the village center. That's all I have to say. Unless there's any
Did
questions.
you get any requests for these conference rooms from anyone other than village people?
Very, very seldomly. Yeah, the bid will use it for their morning meetings. I know once in a while, I know Sheldon Wasserman wanted to do a town hall here because I think, the village center was unoccupied 6 months ago for something, so, but it's very, very seldom.
The only question I had is, in under village hall meeting rooms, you say the courtroom, the committee room, and the village manager's office are the three available rooms. I mean, I would think village manager's office is that room where Rebecca sits, so
Yeah, me too.
it sounds, I mean, maybe say the room outside the village or the village manager's conference room?
Yes.
Cause saying the village manager's office makes it sound like Rebecca's office.
Exactly.
I would be happy to make that meeting.
Unless you wanna have meeting on her.
I'll sign right up, every day, sit in there.
Okay, looks good to me.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
All right, great.
Perfect.
Okay. All right.
Stacey, update on wellness program.
Yep, you do.
Tyler, I believe that's you.
Yeah, I can, yeah, so, as you know, R&R is the new insurance broker. We've been working with them the last month to develop a new wellness scorecard, as you asked us to do. I think it was like November of 2018 that we had that meeting, so we do, 2018.
Well, about 15 was when we.
Well, that's when we
Oh, really?
initiated, but last time when we adopted the wellness scorecard, that was a request that came from the board, is that you wanted a revised scorecard.
It was in
so-
16 too.
What's that?
I think it was in 16 too, that's why I mentioned it. When we first adopted it, we thought.
It was
the
adopted
following
in
year
16,
we
you
were
are
going
correct.
to.
We review it every year, correct, but I think what we did was the first 3 years, we kept the scorecard. And now that it's had 3 years, I think the board wanted to refresh the scorecard. I believe if I remember the talking point, it was, based on the wellness benefit of $500 for single plan and $1,500 for family, that you wanted, I don't wanna say a more difficult scorecard, but more meaningful, meaning that the activities were more reflection of wellness throughout the year. That, like, for instance, some of the activities we got rid of was like keeping a log of healthy meals for a week. Stuff like that they may do for a week but doesn't necessarily represent the full year. So we worked with R&R to put together a proposal. Trustee Carpenter met with us a few times to make sure that we brought forward a scorecard that I think was gonna meet some of your objectives or wishes. So we rolled this out to the benefits committee. Trustee Carpenter was present for that meeting with some of our employees. Since that meeting, I've received feedback, positive and negative, depending on where you're at in the village. I think a lot of people, positive side of it, likes the fact that we're condensing it to one page, focusing on activities that they agree that are meaningful. As you can see, spouses are added, which has been kind of a mixed reaction, but majority of wellness programs that do this, the spouse is just as much as impacted on claims than an employee is. So that's a lot of times why they are included in the plan. And then some of the negative comments, and I think the biggest concerns regard privacy. We have never required biometric screenings. But that's something that is being proposed this year. Since R&R would say a lot of research shows that biometric screenings are one of the most influential tools for wellness, to know your numbers, to make you self-reflect on, certain changes that you may need to make. So there's a redistribution of points. I think another talking point you mentioned to me a year ago was some of the items weren't necessarily provable. So for instance, for the nicotine, people would sign that they didn't smoke, but there was no proof for that. So one of the things that we're proposing is, and one of the reasons why we are requiring the biometric screening is that the private vendor that we use can do a nicotine test that the village won't pay for at all. We negotiated that to be included. That will test if nicotine is in the employee system or not. So.
How long does nicotine stay in?
For a few for a few weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
One other thing to add, that, in addition to the lower, cost of completing the scorecard, if they successfully pass the scorecard, the next year, they don't have to do the biometric screening, so they don't have to go through and have the physical. We felt like that's pretty standard, and as an incentive, so if you meet those guidelines, so the body, the BMI, the glucose, the blood pressure, down, all of those bottom points down at the bottom, if you receive all of those points, you do not have to complete that part of the assessment the next year. So then move to an every other year. If you are healthy, you would be able to skip every other year.
but then how do you get your 100 points for, so